Good evening, everyone. This is day 1171 days. 1171 days. And since Richard, it's been a long day. It's been a very eventful day. It's been a very positive day. A lot has happened today. A lot is going on today in regards to Richard's case. And so let's start over again. 1171 days since Richard went missing from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And he didn't just go missing. Um, his case started way before he went missing. And it includes some very revealing connections. And our connections now, our connections within Fort Bliss, our connections with the institutional support that we're getting right now, because I think people are really sick and tired of everything going on. And so there's been a real change in the mood. And let's make sure that I can see everybody's comments. Turn this on here. See if I can do this. I want to, yeah. I want to. Okay, so I can see everybody's comments now. Looks like I'm on. Trying something a little new. Okay, so it's been such a busy day because of all the connections and the connections starting way before Richard went missing. That is in regards of his retaliation, severe, continuous retaliation of a whistleblower, what was going on with the CID, with the CID internship, with Park University, with the security there on Fort Bliss, and the director of emergency services, with the CPS, with the CYS and OGLE administrator in charge of children's health, mental health and welfare, and that includes the emergency intake center of these migrants. I think they're pawns. They're pawns for people that are up to no good to bring these minors, to bring these um, unaccompanied minors into our country, and then to put them in an emergency intake center, and then rapes going on, all kind of nonsense there, because this grooming of a sex cult, the within even the ranks you have up all the way through. uh, you know Today I was sent a picture that it was redacted in some places, but it was of the president's brother. um, nudity. And I don't know if with AI and all of that, and with all of the way people can do things with computers now, if it's real or not. But there is this grooming of this sex cult, grooming of everything sexual. And, we have witnessed testimonies that things were not going well at the emergency intake center with the children. And, if they're not going well, where are the reports by Ann Ogle, right? Where are the reports? And did her divided loyalties interfere with her job to look after the mental health and welfare of the children on Fort Bliss, including the emergency intake center that was, ran by these admirals. Um, and we know they were up to no good because we have 85,000 unaccounted for minors. Where did they go? Right? And so, where are the reports with all the witness testimonies? We have some things in the news that, in the archives that we can look up and, that back up what I'm saying right now. And we have more. We have more. So, in Richard's case, this started way before he went missing, and it included the DES and the chief of security for Fort Bliss and the CYS administrator and Olga with Park University, that dual employed these people, and of course then they had divided loyalties. But with Anne Ogle, she had private businesses with Thomas Kane, the DES, and she also worked for Raven Aerostar. And there's more, right? There's more. So it's not just divided into two. There's many divisions. It's multifaceted, I would say, her responsibilities. And, unless she's superwoman, I don't know, it doesn't make sense, but we know that she didn't do a good job when it came to the children on Fort Bliss, and at the emergency intake center. Okay, so I don't know if she still has that job. I think she does. And then she goes and she's a professor at CID. She should have some credibility and what she is teaching and what her opinions are and everything. And right now, I feel like she has no credibility at all. Um, and this is absolutely in connection to Richard's case with the CPS, because we have the CPS person. I still haven't dropped that name yet, but that is very connected with Ann Ogle, with um, Thomas Kane, with the CID, so CPS CID, Park University, um, and had some legal problems. So, and seems to have connections with Danae Katzen, with Tanya Katzen, that's, you know, uh, Danae's mother, and Tanya Katzen now, we've been told, is connected to all of this too, seemingly connected to all of this. And I want to say that the number to get in touch with Team Find Richard Halliday, you can text, you can call us. It would be 941-677-0060. That's how you get in touch with us to clarify. Danae needs to clarify her affiliation with CID, with Park University, with Ann Ogle, with Thomas Kane. She needs to clarify that. I believe because Richard is missing. He is a volunteer soldier. He's missing. Uh, Everybody should be rallying around Richard to get him justice, to have his six, to find out who did these evil things to him, what kind of evil things were done to him, this whole dismemberment, this finding his remains in different locations because they did not want to have another Guillen situation, right? They didn't want to find his remains all in one place. We know there's tampering with his remains, so we've been told. And a plane was involved in all of this, which is really interesting because Deborah Sarah West is a pilot, and we know that there's these double claims, these alibis that, um, you know, that she's doesn't know Dallas Hart, but then we have uh, uh, witness testimony that Deborah Sarah West was teaching Dallas Hart How to Fly. He posted it. He posted that he was getting ready to have his solo flight, but then he X'd it all out. Um, and this whole car thing was it's all X'd out. You can't, everything is scrubbed, everything is sanitized, and it's not normal. It's not normal. You have uh, a young man um, starting all over again, and no indication that he owns a vehicle and all of this. So you have to dig, 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 because it's not out there. And so that's suspect right there that we had to, get witness testimony and everything like that, eyewitness testimony. Um, and you have to get into the inner circle of uh, these people because so many other people are so afraid. And I want to address that. You need to stop being afraid because these people are just evil. Okay, and when they're just evil, that's all they intend is to do evil. And if we don't become courageous and stand up against the evil, it grows and grows and grows. And that's why we are where we're at today, because we were just comfortable in our own shoes, in our own situation, and we let the evil grow, and we did not hold them accountable. And in Richard's, in this whole case, this whole 3 years, absolutely. I'm going to put my glasses on now so I can see the comments. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anicia. Thank you for the prayers and justice for Richard. And thank you, Donna. Thank you so much for coming on and sticking with us for so long. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about the connections that we are getting. They have connections, but we have connections. And it was very clear today that I was getting all of these messages about how people are supporting us, how they're sharing. And this is where your courage uh, can be very, very instrumental, and that is to talk to people about Richard's case, to share about Richard's case, because Richard's case involves the security of Fort Bliss, which means if that is corrupted, then other military installations are also corrupted and compromised, and then the safety of our military and our military members are then also compromised, and that means even their family members. And so this is really important that people understand the the magnitude of how Richard's case has touched all of these agencies, including the security of Fort Bliss, the children's health there at the CYS Administrator Ann Ogle, that this is involved in that it is involved in Park University. It seems that these few people, they're the ones that got the jobs there, while they were not securing the military installation, while they weren't caring for the health and welfare of the children. And so this is a real problem. Uh, you know, I think it's a huge problem. Um, and then of course with Danae having this affiliation with the CID, with Park University, with her mother Tanya Katzen, having, and I want you to know that name because this is all going to come together, and it's pretty shocking. But with Tanya Katzen and her connections, um, there on Fort Bliss, and we need clarification on that one. And so I invite Tanya to call 941-677-0060 to uh, tell us exactly what her connections are there on Fort Bliss. and with her daughter and with Ann Ogle and with Thomas Kane and with then the CID, Marlon Soto, Tavita Nusa, Ron Steig, and then Leilani Hart having a footprint in there, and Jay Paulin having a footprint affiliation in there, and Leilani Hart having such a big one that she's claiming that she runs the CID, that I guess she has Marlon Soto on strings as a puppet, and Tavita Newsom. We know that Tavita Newsom was leaking her files. We know that by James Hart. We know that he was under investigation. We know that James Hart works for the VA for not just any position in the VA, but a very, very, very important, I can't stress that enough, because he has access in his position to all of the sensitive files, healthcare records, military history files, everything on these veterans and service members that go and use the VA, that are looking for uh, disability benefits. He sits on the health board for that, the IDES dash Pablo. You can look that up. It's very, very important for people understand the power behind that, because if you're up to no good, if you are a criminal, and Leilani Hart has absolutely over and over and over again complained about her husband wanting to kill her, complained about her husband buying illegal weapons, uh, complained about her husband engaged in incest, complained about her husband engaged in pedophilia, complained about her husband being involved in creating child pornography and selling it to soldiers, complained about having affairs, um, complained, over and over and over again. And here he is in the VA there, having access to people's, veterans' files and veterans' healthcare files, and having, this affair, because it's even in their divorce papers, with Lisa Lennon Williams. I believe that's her name, Lisa Lennon. Anyway, I want to make sure I get that right. But having an affair with someone else that works in there, and then now not getting clarity from Amber Chase, because we got inside information that she was working right there with James Hart at the VA, with others. That is really concerning. So it is, involving of course, then the CID having a platform at the MPs there on Fort Bliss, the guard mount, and being able to give false information to the MPs there on Fort Bliss is really worrisome too. And then talking about false information or fake news, then you um, go to Media Matters, no, El Paso Matters, and KTEP with Bob Moore and Kocherga, Miss Angela Kocherga, and you see that the reporting on what's going on in the connections with Richard Halliday's case is so, y'all, it is so bad. It is so false. It is a narrative that has a purpose, and the purpose is not truth. Okay? And we're going to be unveiling that to everybody, because these connections with Danae Katzen, with her family, with Richard, with the Harts, because there's connections all over with the Harts, with Belen Rocha, with that family. Remember, for a long time I said, they are connected, they are connected, they are connected. And, now they're very, very, very connected. They're so connected because, Lydia Ortega Rocha and Eddie Rocha, they're connected. They're connected with Ann Ogle and Thomas Kane and all of this. So then, of course, we had this big breakthrough today that really uh, crumbles Dallas Hart's alibi. And, what is General Eisenhower going to do? What is he going to do? The alibis are crumbling. And, the problem is that the people that uh, made these alibis were connected with the CID, with the command structure. They went ahead and they sanitized the media online, the all of the online information as well as they could. That means the FBI were probably involved, of course, the CID, and they just tried to scrub everything. And, so they are implicated in Dallas Hart's alibi crumbling. And so it puts them in a very tough position because in order to do the right thing, they have to kind of like say, okay, we did this. They have to confess. They have to admit that they have been obstructing justice and they've been committing crimes in our son's case. And we knew from the very beginning, when you see me, saying this kind of so outright and not upset, um, we've been saying this for so long. We saw this for so long that this is stinky. We didn't know exactly how everything was connected, but we knew that the Army was involved in the smear campaign, the unjust, really unjust and groundless, the groundless smear campaign against Richard. Richard has no criminal record at all. None. No criminal record at all. And, we got that confirmed. And so that means that there was no probable cause when it comes to sending the Fugitive Apprehension Unit, which is an assault unit with an assault team wearing full battle gear, right? Full battle SWAT kind of gear, and big guys. We one of them, I don't want to call him by his name, but and I do know his name, but we call him 6'8", just to protect him, because so many have been sucked into this criminal activity because we don't hold them accountable. We let them go on with their criminal syndicate and hurt more and more people and draw more and more people in and groom more and more people into this kind of criminal world. And, we have criminal history records for a reason, and that is to stop people from taking advantage of other people and committing more crimes, and to stop people from getting into situations where they can continue their criminal activities and draw more and more people in, especially young, unaccounted for minors, right? So this is really important for people to understand why we even have criminal records and criminal history. And so that's all coming out, and we have it already out with Leilani Hart, her criminal record, which keeps expanding and expanding. She has a huge, huge criminal record, even there at Fort Bliss, and of course Hawaii. And then they've been very helpful to us, and we're very grateful to them. And so, with all of this institutional support coming out, and I know that it's very hard for them because they have to admit their shortcomings uh, because of what was going on during COVID, because of the aftermath of COVID, because of the election mess, because of the false narratives that uh, El Paso Matters and KTEP with Bob Moore spew from their spleen that creates a false reality, and the false reality devastates people's lives. And we will be sharing all of that with you. Uh, and they are culpable of creating um, really a cover up for criminals, and which obstructs Richard's case, obstructs justice, denies us due process, and yeah, we're making our case for that, and we need your support to share, because it is the shares. It is the why do you think the media is so instrumental in all of this that people will buy them out and then they will use them as propaganda political machines instead of giving us true news? And that's because they use the media. I think, I'm questioning so many stories that I hear because I read the media now and I know these people and I know what's being said is a lie. And so the media is really plays a very evil part in the obstruction of justice in Richard's case. And, Park University, and of course, uh, I don't want to give any excuses for all the law enforcement agencies that have played a huge part in covering up for the criminal activity on Fort Bliss and in Richard's case. So the alibis are crumbling. Dallas Hart's alibi has crumbled. In our estimation, it has totally crumbled. And, this car photos that Richard, we have more that took that clearly this has a no front license plate. So in Texas, you have to have a front license plate. That's not the case in New Mexico. So that was a huge clue, and we started putting two and two together. We've started looking into it. And so if you know more about, because the clues that were, or the anonymous tips, um, that is a good thing to ask for, anonymous tips. Um, but the information that we are getting is that uh, data, witnesses, everything shows that vehicle in certain areas. So I don't want to give things away. I'm trying to be very careful in how I say things, but I want to tell you this, that Dallas Hart's alibi with the very um, sloppy soup sandwich travel voucher that was analyzed 99.999%. It is um, not legitimate, not uh, admissible for an alibi. And that is what he gave us for his alibi against witnesses that testified to us that Dallas Hart was a first lieutenant. Indeed, he was a first lieutenant, and was absolutely connected to Delta Battery 143. So, because where is the platoon leader for Delta Battery 143? The Army could give us that. That would be a better alibi for him. Where is his orders, right? Where are his orders? He could show that, you know, he could even redact part of it and show us some things, and it would be a much better alibi. Um, where are the generals calling us? Um, or better yet, because we don't really like the calls anymore because they're, just propaganda. Um, they don't mind lying to you. Okay, I want to tell you this: Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe lied to us continuously about his soldier, about a a whistleblower. Didn't even tell us he was a whistleblower. We've had to find out all of this, the retaliation. Um, and we know it's all retaliation because Richard has no criminal history, right? And why in the world, would they retaliate to the extreme that they retaliated against Richard? It was so stinky. Um, and then they would sanitize his archive file with it, get rid of it, get rid of it. That is clear indication it was retaliation, and it was a code red, and the code red then was escalated into his murder. That's very clear. And we have, because where is their documents giving us an alibi for Dallas Hart, um, giving us uh, a yay or a nay when it comes to the autopsy reports that mention Dr. Raskin Ortiz, who absolutely is a medical examiner. Um, we have confirmation from the State Department that remains of Richard were found in Mexico. We have Nadal Baim telling a cashier on CCTV footage, and he happens to be, not happens to be, but he is, which makes him more legitimate, the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. The G3 is very important in this because that's operations. They would know. They would know. So this is not just coincidence. And we have Nadal Baim, who is the father-in-law, with this kind of connection, saying that Richard was found, his remains were found by the FBI in Juarez. Shh, shh. This is really important because when we called the State Department, they confirmed that that the FBI were looking for Richard's remains in Mexico. And now we have from another individual in the State Department confirming that Richard's remains were found, and it's a very scary thing because this is then international, right? That Richard's remains were found in Mexico. Now, if you hear that Richard's remains were found in other places, that is true also. That can be true also because we were told that they did not want another Vanessa Guillen situation. They made sure that Richard was dismembered and distributed in um, different locations. So that, I know. Um, that is why you will hear that. And why haven't we, that horrible, horrible, horrible thing I just said, why hasn't the leadership like Christine Wormuth, she's like all trying to be fuzzy and like a big little teddy bear. And then she has, whatever, um, to the military. She wants to be all this fuzzy teddy bear in the military, but she won't send us a letter clarifying the information that we have gotten about Richard's remains being divided like that, Richard's remains being found in different locations, and Judge Robert Shook having these warrants to pick up the remains, and the El Paso Sheriff's Office being involved, and the marshals, the U.S. Marshals, they can pick up remains being involved in this. And when we said okay, then we'll ask for an open records request for an open records with Judge Robert Shook at the JAG there on Fort Bliss. And what happened? They just packed him up and moved him out. And then they were like, they kind of packed up that whole JAG office to move them out. I think, is that witness protection, right? Is that for the criminal cabal? The criminal cabal is getting more protection. And you might ask yourself, why are they protecting these criminals? And these are huge, huge crimes. Why are they protecting them? Well, the type of crimes have escalated because we let it happen without accountability, And when I say we let it happen, it's just the way governments descend like that. They can start really, really. It wasn't Benjamin Franklin that said this is a republic if you can keep it. Even at that time, he's like, if you can keep it, because that's what happens, right? You see that even in Egypt with the Pharaoh and Joseph. After time, the Pharaoh forgot Joseph, right? The Pharaoh, meaning the descendants of the Pharaoh, forgot Joseph and enslaved the Israelites there that were in Egypt. Governments descend, and if you are not vigilant, it happens pretty quickly because they have a lot of power, and people are very creative. They're very creative, but we're not born angels, okay? We're not born angels. We need redemption, right? We need sanctification. We need a law word. We need boundaries. We need those 10 commandments. We need the word of God to keep us in line, to keep us kind people. And I say that because of homeschooling with McGuffies. And McGuffies, the whole goal of McGuffies is Mary is kind to the old blind man, right? Mary is kind to the old blind man. We have to remember to be kind. And so that means we have to be surrounded with a benevolent law structure, and we have to be held accountable, and we have to look at criminal records as something positive, as far as to restrain evil, to make sure that people that have a tendency to do these kind of horrible crimes do not come in contact with an office, with a job, with files, with this whole Social Security number scheme on top of all the other stuff. We can't give them the opportunity to do that. And so with Richard's case, this has all grown very complex. It is a criminal syndicate, a band of robbers, and worse, because Richard was murdered. Okay? And what they do is, with the media and everything, if it risks their business plan, their gravy train, because they've created a gravy train, when you can legislate funding, then you can put together a business plan, and you have a guaranteed amount of money coming in with these contracts. And, it was President Eisenhower, the Eisenhower with the E, not Major General Eisenhower, but President Eisenhower, who also was a general, said, beware of the military industrial complex, because they can say, for your safety, for our a country's safety, for military readiness, we need billions of dollars. We need trillions of dollars. We need million here, billion there, trillion, and now we're 33 trillion, 33.5 trillion dollars in debt, because of, of course, the Afghanistan war, these fake wars, and the contracts that become the business plans. And it's such a great, easy business plan that to, you know, the problem is it's meant to kill people, right? It's meant to kill people, kill the land, destroy, bomb things, you know, and this is the problem. And there's no oversight of it. It has been allowed to grow because it's such a gravy train that, we get caught up in that whirlwind that is up to no good. And this is what Richard pulled on. He pulled on the gravy train, and they were like, is your life more important than my life? No, I don't think so. And we're going to scare you, retaliate. But, they didn't expect him to have that thick moral compass, a backbone that he has. And, so they had to escalate the code red. And Dallas Hart is a key suspect in this, with Leilani Hart, with James Hart, with Jay Paulin, with many more, because they have spent many years in that area, and they have developed reputations in that area. And they're not good reputations at all. It's criminal, 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 criminal. Criminal, 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 criminal. Domestic problems. And I'm talking about all of them. I'm talking about the whole family. They don't have credibility. And yet, because they're part of this gravy train that no one wants to disrupt, they look the other way. And in El Paso, that whole area has a lot of Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because it's a swath of land all the way up to Utah, to Salt Lake City, because Mitt Romney's father was born there in Colonial Juarez with other families, and they have developed that area. And they just grew. They grew and they grew, and they got all kinds of businesses, and it went all the way into New Mexico and Texas and all over. They grew, and they formed a power structure. And the people involved in this have a connection with, and these are a connection as young children, okay? As young adults, young children. Dallas Hart was brought up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I believe the rest of them also. Danae also. And, that was their community. That, and then in El Paso. And Richard's coming out from Ireland, right? Longford, Ireland, the middle of Ireland. And he's kind of like, coming from Germany too, and then coming from Poland. So, he, from all his moving around, from the homeschooling, okay, he's going into that area with a much different background than Dallas Hart, a much different background. And, Richard got, what, 3 AAMs in 14 months, was distinguished honor graduate, was aspiring CID agent, um, did combat lifesaver. He was an aspiring soldier. He wanted to do the best that he could do. And, the alibi, the other, there's a divided loyalty. There's a divided loyalty. And I hope that people understand that. And I share everything I possibly can, um, praying constantly that we will get into a court, that the court will demand that the truth be told, and that we could hear it. So it is a fine line to walk. Uh, but the end game is to be in a court of justice. Please God, start praying that we get a decent judge and we can get the answers to the CPS complaints, that we can get the answers to the CID complaints, that we can get the answers to the connections that keep coming out, and y'all, it's going to, it's just hold on to your seat, because the connections, yeah, and you'll understand why they went to this kind of level with millions of dollars to funnel through to try to cover up this murder of our son. Um, so, and it is to protect a gravy train, okay? I can tell you that right now. And doesn't that, that's not hard to figure out, because God tells us you either serve God or you serve man. Now, he doesn't say, oh, you serve loyalty to your family. No, no, no. That's not an issue with people. They will sell out their family pretty quickly unless they serve God, right? So you serve God, then you honor your mother and father, that things will go well with you and you will live long on the earth, right? God teaches us to have loyalty to our family, right? Um, no, this is about money, following um, the easy money. It's hard work to make money off of selling vegetables, growing vegetables, selling vegetables. It's hard work. It's from the sweat of your brow. The same thing with when you are a rancher, when you are a farmer of cattle. Um, it's very difficult, and you are making money off the sweat of your brow. And it never really becomes super rich, super rich like what we're seeing. But to enslave people, to traffic people, to do that with legal, um, let's just say, protection, legal protection. When you have the legal community on your side to cover for you, and you can you can give them a part of it, part of the the profits, human trafficking, the child pornography, and I want to say this every time: any pornography, okay? Because people, I was just listening to, I think Jesse Waters for a few minutes, and he had this guy on, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they don't like pornography." Nope, nope, I do not like pornography. Why? Because you heard it from Kanye West. Kanye West has a different name now, but he said, he made it very clear that all pornography was child sex trafficking. And why, he had to put his whole life, um, risk everything in order to say that. So, and I'm, for the longest, I didn't even know who he was. I mean, that's just not what I pay attention to. But when he said that, I paid attention. So, this child pornography that's going on, this child sex pornography, absolutely illegal. But I want to say that all pornography is child sex trafficking. Absolutely. He made a really, really, well, he knew. He knew. He went in those circles. Um, so that was a huge confession for him. And I think that it has saved people's lives. I think children's lives because he said that. So they make a lot of money off of that. That is the number one easiest way to make money is to sell human beings. That's always been a problem, right? And and it really has nothing to do with race. Nothing. Okay, people are always racist. They all through history they've been racist. All through the world they've been racist. Um, it's just yeah. I I this whole I don't know. Like it's shocking. Oh my gosh, it's shocking. No, no, no. People are up to no good, and they are selling human beings, and you know it's an easy way to make money. It's an easy way to make money. And they're selling the child porn. It's an easy way to make money. And especially when you're using the media to groom us into these sex cults and this sex thinking, like everything has to be sex, um, then of course it's very easy to make money when you're using taxpayers to buy the equipment and the weapons and the ammunition, pay for the military installation, pay for the service members to guard, and drive the vehicles and do maintenance on this equipment and inventory it and everything, um, to steal it and sell it, and then profit. And you've had no cost to you at all. That's very profitable too. Another big profit is all of the contracts, the American taxpayers' money contracts into building these installations and the housing and the runways, and all of that has to be paid for, and contracts go out, and it's a very easy way to become very rich. And these are all stumbling blocks for the health and welfare of our country. So, you know, the weapons smuggling, the whole military industrial complex, that becoming a business plan for those that, have the connections that can get the backing of a DA, of the AG, of judges so that they don't, the cover up. And so it's very easy when you're putting it together. Now, 3 years ago it wasn't easy for me. Um, I'm just astonished over and over again what we're finding out, and yet it's fitting together. It was Operation Hansel and Gretel, morsel by morsel. It's fitting together. We see it. It's very dangerous because we're talking about millions, billions, and even trillions. We're $33 trillion in debt. I have to say that over and over again because people don't understand. And I know in my classroom, um, the understanding of numbers was very difficult for so many of my students, to give value to just some numerals you put down on a piece of paper, was very hard to understand, to even imagine what a million is, what a billion is, what a trillion is. And we're $33 trillion, $33.5 trillion in debt. Is that a real number? I don't know. I don't, I don't even know all the narratives that they give us. But if it is, let's say it is, that's what they want us to pay back or whatever to this private Federal Reserve Bank, because it is private. That's um, another business plan. Let's enslave a whole country, put them in debt. We'll control their monies, and we'll print their monies or whatever, and we'll make them pay us interest on it. I mean, they digitize it, doesn't cost them anything, and we pay for all the buildings and all their fees and their travel expenses and everything. Um, yeah, it's a sweet deal, but the Federal Reserve Bank that has never been audited, that needs to be audited, um, to have them, I've lost the track of what I was going to say, but the whole fraudulent, um, trap that they have put us in, And I will tell you this, I know for a fact that Richard might have not known everything, but he was aware. He was aware. He was aware of these traps. And to go there and to call them out, to be a young man full of vim and vigor that had these aspirations, that wanted to be the PI, that wanted to be the criminal investigative, uh, you know, leader, to clean up, crime and everything. Uh, he was aware, and he absolutely called them out. He absolutely was a whistleblower. He absolutely was retaliated against. And these established people was like, how can this outsider come in and start messing in our business in our city, on our installation, our military? They're so bold. They feel like they own the place, right? And here comes Richard, an outsider, coming in, and absolutely Dallas Hart knew Richard. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely his alibi has crumbled. Absolutely Leilani Hart was very upset with Richard, for being this outsider coming in and messing. So was James Hart. So was Thomas Kane. So was Ann Ogle. So, he's messing with their business plan that they've spent years developing. Jay Pollin's like, is Richard's life, Richard being the outsider coming in, what did he build? What did he do? I've built this criminal little syndicate. I've made myself credible to these criminals so that they would bring me in the fold, that I could have a piece of this very easy, tasty pie from on the backs of Americans, and also, um, you know, dehumanizing so many people that they traffic, and that they prostitute out, and and they just have convinced themselves that it is okay. It's okay, and it's not. And Richard was an outsider that came in and said, it's not okay. It's not okay. You cannot do this to children. You cannot do this to migrants coming in that are unaccompanied, and they're, young. You cannot do that to them. You cannot do that to the American people selling this equipment and sticking the money in your pocket. It belongs to the American people for the defense of the Constitution, the land, and the people, right? That's what it's for, not to enrich you. And these contracts where, they overcharge the government, and it's not the government, right? McConville, no, what's his name? McConnell. He was saying, the government must work. They're not, they're bloodsuckers. They're not governing. If they were governing, we wouldn't have every agency being a failure. Which agency is actually doing their job? Please tell me. Our banking is a failure. Our schools are a failure. Where are our students reaching their potentiality to create things like what we have seen in the past? Our food, if you're a certain class, you get the finest fish, you get the finest cuts of meat, you get the finest even tomatoes. But if you're, common like we are, you have to go and search out and squeeze and look at all the, is this good food? Is it going to last? You get the lesser. And, when you live around farmers, like I've lived around farmers, they will tell you they send these kinds of food to these people, and they send the rest to the common man. So, it is, it's just not right. It's just not fitting. It's just not fitting for a republic to become what we've become. And this is, I heard Trump talk about, this is the beginning of communism or whatever. Absolutely, you get the good caviar going to, this is in Russia, the good caviar going to the elites, and the rest of the people, they're just scrapping by, hoping to get some good potatoes, right? So this is why Richard was such an offense to them in my because 3 months of he's a POS, he's a POS. I'm like, why is he a POS to you? Why? Why don't you find him? Then you can, if he did do a crime, which he never did a crime. So of course he didn't do a crime, and he was offense to them. Okay? The pedophiles aren't offense to them. The the people in charge of these institutions, and to me it's Ann Ogle and Thomas Kane are so offensive to me, and the same thing with Marlon Soto. They're so offensive because they're given the trust of such importance, right? Our service members, the security of our military installation, all of our equipment, all of our weapons, all of our service members, and then also Ann Ogle, who we have entrusted to take care of our, to look over, to make sure there is oversight over our children. And even to those children coming into our country, even illegally. But, we are a nation that is so generous, that is a volunteer nation, that we try to be very humane historically. But now we've just become inhumane and warmongers, and human traffickers, human sex traffickers, to even the most vulnerable people coming into our country. And I think that was a very big problem. And for Richard, it was a big problem. And these established people that were groomed into thinking this was okay because they had prosecutors behind them, because they had the legal establishment behind them to bail them out whenever they needed to be bailed out, like in this case, and then charge the American people millions and millions of dollars to cover up this case and other cases. Um, yeah, it's Richard was an offense to them, to their criminal grooming, and it's got to stop. It's just got to stop because it's undoing our country and hurting so many people. And so, the people of El Paso, we love you. And hopefully, this case, because we're being blocked, the media's not even covering this. Um, the PAO is not covering this. So we hope that in our attempt to find our son, it will restrain some of the criminality that you've experienced. And I just can't even imagine, because of what's happening right now on the border, what you're going through. And Richard is a hero. He's an absolute hero. And I'm not just saying that. He is, because he stood his ground. And by standing his ground, he really, even though we believe that he was murdered and he lost his life, but in that, he's a hero. I didn't want him to be a hero. Remember at the beginning, I would say, geez, this is the first time in my motherhood. I hope that he was a real jerk and he ran away, right? Um, but that's not the case. He didn't run away. He stood firm. And even though he was crying and fearing for his life at the end, he stood long enough to expose the underbelly of the dirty truth, of the dirty truth and the crimes being committed, not only him, not only our army, not only the children, but to the American people. So, um, you you'll see. You'll see. Um, and you've seen already. I mean, Richard being CID intern, that means Marlon Soto lied to us for months and months. Richard being a whistleblower, that means that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe lied to us months and months. Months and months. And those are huge. Our key witness, and we have many witnesses, but he's really a key witness. He's really our key witness. Is being blocked, is being retaliated against, is being intimidated because he dared to help. He dared to help Richard's case. And all the lies spewed is just, we've been through them. I mean, there's quite a bit. We've been through them. And please don't believe what you read from El Paso Matters. I mean, matter of fact, don't even give them a time of day. And we're going to get to that too. But it's it is really, we're very grateful for you sharing. If you can share 2-3 times a day, just real quick, push the share button, and maybe a couple times a week tell people about this case, because the numbers adding up is what drives them to have to do the right thing. And so you're really blessing so many people by making them do the right thing and coming out of that cloud, that really toxic cloud of this criminal culture, right? The criminal culture. So please share. And we just want to thank you so much. If you have any questions, um, I think, thank you. Thank you, Danielle, for coming on. And we will be back tomorrow, God willing. Just know that Dallas Hart's alibi crumbled, is totally shattered. And does that is that the right word right now? Because people are using the word shattered in different ways. But his alibi crumbled, and you know we'll see what happens, what the authorities do with that information, right? And we're just keep going. I don't worry about it. We're just investigating. We're finding the information. We're giving it to the authorities. We're writing our letters, and sooner or later, it's all gonna break. It's all gonna come out, and I think I want to thank all of our connections, all of the Team Find Richard Halliday connections for exposing all of these things, because yeah, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. So thank you so much, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.